is a piece of white paper. And just for a moment, let's let it represent the life of a newborn baby. There's nothing on it because it was just born. Now, throughout life, we go through experiences that act like permanent marker on white pieces of paper that represent our lives. And a lot of the marker is drawn as we spend nearly 15,000 hours in school. Now, school has changed a lot, even since my parents were in school. Nowadays, we hear the phrase, "Hey Siri, can you help me?" more than, "Hey Miss, can you help me?" But even though so much progress is happening, we still try and prevent our students from progressing even more. God forbid the use of ChatGPT in our schools because that's considered plagiarism, and you can't use calculators on part A of the math exam because that's cheating. We set these enormously high standards for our students today in order to achieve an idea of success that is so outdated. For many of us, success looks like an acceptance letter from a school in America, the land of the free. Ironic, right? Because as this study shows, more than 40% of undergraduate students in America have reported that they feel depressed. We are at a point in time where we need future generations of adults to be well equipped to tackle the world's greatest issues. From climate change, war, genocide, racism, and segregation. Unfortunately, learning the Pythagorean theorem is not going to help us do a lot of this. Sorry, math teachers. Now, even though I personally may not be good at subjects like math naturally, I do think that they are necessary. I just believe that the way they are taught needs to change. If our intention of education is to prepare future generations of leaders to tackle problems, why do we spend day in and day out trying to teach people how to write an exam or how to get the most points from a paper we write? Well, as an IB student, I do understand because that's just the system we're in. So today, I am here voicing millions of powerful young people to say that we must change the system. In the real world, we will be able to use calculators. We will have access to insane AI technologies such as ChatGPT that, if used correctly, can help us. Now, I think the reason why so many of us are scared of this change is because we don't know what the future holds. We don't know the impact or the effects of changing our education systems radically. However, as we've learned from times like through the COVID-19 pandemic, sometimes change is the only option. If we didn't modify the way we lived during the pandemic, the negative impacts could have been far greater. Now, I think that we're forgetting that we have the power to actually change the course of the future. But the only way that we're going to be able to do that is to radically change our education systems. So, I started to become really passionate about this topic at the age of 14. However, one thing that I didn't learn till quite recently is that the fight about education goes far deeper than ensuring all students have access to schools. After a transformative trip to India, I learned about the barriers to education that exist. A lot of students today don't have access to attend school for various reasons. However, the fight for education goes far deeper. And so I decided to start my own nonprofit called Project Power Global. This organization enabled me to create a medium to do different initiatives to tackle the issue of accessibility to schools. We worked on projects like our Digital Devolve program that enabled students in certain parts of the world, especially in Asia, to get accessibility to technology so that they could continue their education during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, after years of working on this project, I had a friend once ask me, do you actually think that the only issue when it comes to education is that some people can't attend school? And in that moment, I realized that we had gotten it wrong. As someone who's grown up in North America, I've had the privilege of having accessibility to education be a constant throughout my life. It's almost like my teachers and our education system tried to brainwash us into thinking that the global north countries have it right. However, what is the point in fighting for accessibility to education if schools are no longer a productive environment? And I realized this further when we did a project at my organization called Pen Pal. The goal of the project was to connect students in 2 completely different parts of the world to learn about 5 different global issues together. These students had not had previously learned about social issues before, and so this was completely new to them. In this time frame, they were able to connect with another pen pal from across the world to discuss these issues with and come up with creative solutions on how to address these problems in their own communities. The teachers that we worked with said to us that they had never seen their students be more passionate and feel as empowered ever before, just because they saw clear links of what they were learning and how it impacts their everyday lives. So, at this point, I ask you, what is the purpose of fighting for accessibility to schools if there's no clear objective with what we teach our kids, and if there's no clear way on how they can use the knowledge that they gain in schools in the real world? So, you might be listening to me today and be like, yeah, we get it. We need to change our education systems. How exactly do we do this? Well, here are 6 key steps we need to take. Number 1, moving beyond memorization. Now, there are some exceptions to this. First of all, if you're learning how to be a doctor, or you're studying biology or something like this, please memorize the parts of the body and learn about the illnesses that you're trying to help treat. Because I don't want to be the patient in the chair with my arm ready to get a needle injected, and you're like, wait a second, let me just quickly Google which vein we're supposed to put it in. That would not be a comfortable situation. Number 2, embracing technology. I've already talked about the use of AI, but it goes beyond that. We see today that our teachers sometimes are trying to avoid the usage of these platforms, but I encourage all educators today to say, why are you doing this? Because technology is just going to keep advancing. It's time that we start learning how to work with it, not against it. Number 3, acknowledge individuality. Our greatest strength is in our differences, and youth should have the opportunity to study and to learn about things that they're actually passionate about. When you reach an age to make a decision of what to study, you need to be prepared, and you need to know exactly what you want to do and what you care about. And a way to reach this is ensuring that in early childhood education, students are exposed to different creative ways to think outside the box and to not just conform to what they've maybe been told by their peers, their parents, or even previous teachers. Number 4, global citizenship. I believe that all youth should have education around different global issues from a young age. And this is because, as we've seen, with misinformation, and as many of our other speakers today have talked about, the negative impacts of technology and social media, we need to be able to provide youth with the tools to critically think about what they're actually being exposed to and learn about ways that they can make a difference in their own communities. Number 5, life skills. So I have a story for you. There was this friend of mine when she first came to UWC Adriatic and had the first bed sheet change. A lot of us know about this. She didn't know how to take the comforter, on your bed and put it in the comforter cover. And so she would spend hours literally standing there, like stuffing the comforter in the cover, just because she never learned it before. I think over like a month or something, or 2 months, she spent maybe like an hour or two doing this, and it was a huge waste of time. Anyway, this person's me, so yeah, I'm exposing myself. So things like this is what I mean by life skills. And lastly, standardized testing. A lot of us today know what this is. Maybe you've experienced it. Maybe you're studying for it right now. And I personally believe that standardized testing should not be the key and principal way that we measure the potential of students. And this is because, for example, they don't provide an accurate representation of an individual holistically. This is a study that looked at the SATs, and you can see that different income brackets provide more opportunities for certain people to potentially prepare for the exam and therefore do better on it. So how can we actually say that this is an equitable process? So maybe today I didn't tell you something revolutionary. Maybe I didn't discover something new in science or write a new formula or give you an aha moment that's going to change your life forever. But as someone who has been advocating for this issue for years, I know that in order to create change, it takes many voices, many times, to see the ripple effect. So, to students here listening, I encourage you to fight and advocate for changes within our education systems, because our future depends on it. Educators, I encourage you to embrace the change and not fight against it. And leaders, I encourage you to listen to students and educators, because their voices put together are pretty darn powerful. So, this is a blank piece of paper. And now, I want you to imagine it represents the future. It's our decision how we write it. Thank you.